If you're watching this, chances are you're a coach and you feel like if you want to 3x your business, you have to do 3 times the amount of work, or you have to try 3 times the amount of strategies or tactics that you see out there. But in this case, I took a client from, he was making barely 10K a month to making 30K a month with my help and 3 books. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run you through the 3 specific things I had him really understand from each book, and every time that we met every single week, we just talk about one of those things, and eventually he was able to 3x his entire business. So the first book you've probably never heard before, but it's this book right here. Long title, this is No BS Direct Marketing for Non-Direct Marketing Businesses, 4th edition, the ultimate no holds. It's a super long title, but this is Dan Kennedy. The whole premise of this book is actually pretty simple, and I drew it for you so you can understand. It looks like this. The reason why I bought this book for him, at the time we started working, he had 1,500 followers and he thought he needed a way bigger audience. And he had the limiting belief that all the things that he had to do was spend a lot of money into building a personal brand or building up his Instagram following. Instead, what I honed into his mindset was that you don't need to become this huge influencer to have a 30,000 a month business. All you need to do is understand the knowledge or the expertise of direct marketing. If you're a coach, chances are you're really good at what you do, but there are some things that you really lack in. For example, in this case is direct marketing. It's being really good at copywriting. He didn't have that skill. So obviously my main goal here was not only was he getting coached by me every single week and through our 24/7 messaging every time, like on Slack and everything, but I gave him this book selfishly so that every time that he was reading this book, he was thinking of the training that I was making him go through with myself personally. Every time we wrote a different type of copy, a type of VSL script or a video script or ad script, everything, we were putting this into practice. So it was like me coaching him 24/7. So the main premise again is this triangle where we have the market, which is the who, because with 1,500 followers, his market was, he's a fitness coach for moms. He being a male, a guy, it was harder for him to just post anything and everything and then assume that his target audience was gonna feel related to him. So with 1,500 followers, we couldn't afford to be vague or just post random things. So with the market or the who, we use the books or Dan Kennedy's rule to repel 90% of people who just maybe knew him or were friends or something about that. And we just spoke to the 10% or sometimes even the 3% who are ready to buy and who really are following him for the stuff that he has to share about their specific pains. Mostly in his case was just moms who wanted to become healthier, for example. So understanding his exact avatar, their specific pains that they go through, that they live with, what they wanted, why they wanted the thing that they wanted. So like, why did they want to become healthier, for example? What was keeping them from getting it? And making the problem super clear so that we could position him as the only one authority that could get them the result that they wanted. From a very specific and very interesting angle, by the way, because he is a guy helping moms, and sometimes there's not a lot of overlap between the audience and the person speaking to the audience. So we had to come up with really interesting copy to attract the specific type of persona. Then the second thing was the what, or the message in this case. He was purely just writing educational copy. And guys, if you're a fitness coach, low-key, if you don't understand this, you're cooked. Like, you really have to understand how to go from educational content to persuasive content, which is not the same thing. There's a reason why, guys can take their shirt off, and if they're ripped, they're gonna get thousands of followers. Girls, the same thing, millions of views just to show off their body. Guys, that's just entertaining content or educational content where, like, yeah, you go to the gym, you take your tripod and you film yourself in the gym just doing some exercises. That's not gonna get you clients. Or maybe you can sell a low ticket ebook for like $9. That's about it. Unless you have millions of followers, you're not gonna pay the bills. So we shifted from just doing educational content to persuasive content. We stopped teaching and we started making micro offers based on specific pain points. So we created very specific lead magnets that were very detailed to a very specific pain point that only that specific type of market would feel. That way it was extremely directed to his target market. Then lastly was the media, which is the where. Unfortunately, before me, he was working with some other person that didn't know how to run ads effectively. So unfortunately, he was burning a lot of money on cash. And on that same note, he was only making about 10K a month. So revenue being 10K, burning money on cash. And then unfortunately, these same people that were forcing him to like run ads that were not even good ads, forced him into paying them again because they thought they needed more time to crack the ads or crack his messaging or whatever. He was forced to pay them again, and now he was losing more money. Pisses me off. So obviously the next thing that we did, we changed the media, or we changed the where, and we fixed the ads. In his case, we needed to do better ads, better copy, better scripts, and show up more consistently with better messaging. The other people were not even teaching him half of what he needed to do to make sure he was actually servicing the people he needed to service. And eventually we got to a point that we were treating the ads like a vending machine. He was putting $1 in and he was getting $2 to $3 back. So we were basically printing money and at the same time helping a ton of people. Now the next book that really helped him out, that he loved, was this one, The One Thing. Now I'm not gonna bore you and just say, hey, the one thing is just do the one thing every single day, that if you do that one thing every single day, everything else becomes irrelevant. That's the entire premise of the book. You don't have to read it. Obviously, you can get a couple good things, but now I'm going to show you exactly what we did with him so you can get the most out of it. And it looks something like this. So the problem before we started working together was that he was taught to do everything, kind of like a spray and pray kind of strategy. So let's post on Instagram, let's post on Facebook, let's go to Facebook groups. For some reason they were teaching him this. Let's go to Facebook groups and scour for people and message people on Facebook groups and do this cold outreach. But then let's also try to do ads. And why don't you try and do this thing with your friend? He was spread very thin. And as a new dad, he had very little time. Now, I'm not a dad, but by no means, but I have no idea how much time that takes. But I'm pretty sure you don't have a lot of time to do everything. So when he came to me, the basic thing that we did, I didn't give him more stuff to do. I gave him less things to do that was going to give him more throughput and basically better results. Now, at first for him, and maybe for you listening, it sounds unreal. It sounds like, how would I go from doing more to doing less and making more money? Just makes no sense. But that's why we implemented the concept of the one thing. We stripped down the business to zero. We basically took everything. I took all the layers out and we used the one thing to delete 80% of his entire to-do list. I forced him to put everything in a Google Calendar from when he woke up to when he went to bed, and blocked out everything that he was doing for the first 2 weeks. Then we started deleting. We saw where he was wasting time where he could have been doing the one thing that was pulling more revenue. So like revenue generating activities. So the one thing we realized that was getting him more DMs and more leads was doing better copy or better Instagram content with more volume, and not just trying to post everywhere and anywhere just because we needed more volume and more eyeballs or whatever. We figured out the best content strategy for him. We figured out what was the message that was hitting the best and the hardest for his audience, and we just did the one thing over and over and over again. Because when you focus on the right inputs over time, over and over again, we eventually get to the goal. Now, it can get a little bit boring when you start out and you can actually not see results for maybe a couple of weeks to a month. But when you have somebody next to you that knows the things that you have to do every single day to see results, it's so much easier. We stopped trying to push every single block and we just focused on one tiny domino, pushed over time to a bigger domino. Eventually, we hit the goal, and he did. So if you want to take one piece of advice from this book, it's that you are poor because you're doing way too many things. You're doing way too many okay things. Many people think it's about prioritizing a bunch of different things, when in fact it's just subtracting, knowing what to subtract. Because once we realized that once we did good copy, good content every single day, nothing else mattered. The last and the third book that I don't have with me, but here's how it looks. It's The Slight Edge. And this is essentially how it looks like. This concept right here fixes the quitter mindset. A lot of coaches, when they're starting out or when they're just making 10K and they're looking to go to 30, 40, 50, 100K, most of the times they don't realize that this shit takes time. So obviously in the first 2 weeks, nothing big happened. 3 weeks after, maybe 4 weeks, maybe a month in, you don't see a lot of things just happening. But there's one big concept from this book that's called lag time. The work done today isn't going to pay you tomorrow. It's going to pay you 30 days, 45 days from now, even 90 days sometimes. So the book and I kept enforcing him that we have to do the boring work every single day. Because if you stop putting in money into your account, compound interest is not going to accrue over time. You have to put in the work every single day. And the great thing about this concept is the fact that this, you can look this in the Bible, is Galatians 6:9. It says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap the harvest if we don't give up." That's all you have to do. Now, obviously, just working hard and just working every single day doesn't mean anything. What really matters and what's really going to increase your profit, increase your revenue and your impact is knowing in what things you have to work on. Because if you're working all the time on the wrong things, you feel it. You feel like you're just putting a lot of work out there and nothing is like hitting. Nothing is really giving you results. And I know how that feels and it's fucking horrible. So I'll leave you with this. You don't need a viral hit. You don't need a bunch of different strategies. You don't need different tactics or anything. You need patience and you need guidance. For him specifically, there are a couple things we needed to fix specifically on how to write good copy and understanding what makes good copywriting. For you, it might look a lot different. But I've realized after helping close to 1,000 different coaches and having my coaching clients make around $17 million online, I've boiled it down to 10 things that every coach really needs to just master. So right now, just click the video that's on the screen because that's gonna walk you through everything that I teach my clients and I help them go through. So you don't waste your time spinning your wheels every single day trying to see what works and what doesn't work. That's all you have to follow for now. I'll see you in the next one.